Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this special issue of People in the Red Vest, and we're live here at the Red Cross Red Crescent Movement International Conference, the 34th of these that we've had so far. And I'm delighted this morning that we're joined by Tagifo Tamaya, who is the Secretary General of the Tuvalu Red Cross. Good afternoon to you. And my name is Jonathan Stone. I manage the climate work here at the International Federation of the Red Cross Red Crescent Societies. We've got, I hope, some brilliant content for you today, where we will be talking about the impacts of climate change. And in few places are the impacts more pronounced than they are in Tuvalu, an island, a group of islands where climate is a very real and pressing issue affecting them right now. So, Taggy, if I may, what currently keeps you awake at night when you think about climate and think about the impacts in your country?
Okay, thank you for the question. What keeps me awake at night? To be honest, it's mostly my family, like thinking what we have to do the next day, and all these proning issues of Tuvalu, but especially during disasters, as we are mostly faced by tropical cyclones and high tide, king tides. So where we stay, it's very small and narrow. So out of the nights, but mostly during the disaster time, cyclone time, those are the times we don't have to go to sleep.
Okay, and so can you describe it for many people listening just now? They might not have experienced a cyclone or these high tides. What's it like, if you might?
Okay. Before I respond to your answers, Tuvalu, for those who don't know, it consists of 9 islands, atoll islands, and it's all these 9 islands contribute to 25 square kilometers. That's the area of Tuvalu, and it's 11,000 people staying there. Most of the places is below 5 meters, so it's really high, vulnerable to the king tides. That's how most of the disaster we receive when it's cyclone seasons. But as we know now, it's more intensified and it's spreading more the seasons of cyclones. So we have to be more resilient to it.
Okay, and my understanding is that, so the scientists tell us, and so we see, is that the cyclones are getting sometimes more intense. They're maybe developing a bit more quickly, and they arrive with strong winds, heavy rain, and these tides. Can you describe these storm surges or these king tides?
Okay.
What do they look like in your communities?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. In Feb this year, we face big waves, and these big waves can cover some parts of the islands where we're staying. It comes from the ocean side to the ocean. From the lagoon side to the ocean side. So it's like for Red Cross, we have to be prompt on those kind of disaster, working together with the disaster department. But like as I mentioned, like for big waves, it's really damaged household, maybe the livestock. We don't have big livestock, but it's owned by individuals, households. So some of their livestock are swept away. So it's those are the things we face when it comes to big waves, high tides. But it's worse when it's cyclone season and it's high tides. So
okay.
yeah. that's the worst part of it.
And so your national society, it works with communities before, during, and after these events. What kind of things do you do with communities, or what kind of activities does your national society do?
Okay. We mostly, from our auxiliary role, I think you understand, we always tag along with the government, whatever plans that the disaster have for any, like, for example, a drought or a tropical cyclone. We tag along with them. But during peacetime, we do trainings. We move around, the volunteers move around the island, and also in branches. We have branches in all the islands. So we do trainings with them, and we collect data, and we can see the most vulnerable people. And so when there is 72 hours, 48 hours, we visit those places, those houses, because we already have a database. Because it's very small island, and so we can. But the only thing, it's a bit far. The main island is narrow, but very long. So reaching those people is a challenge for us. But at the moment, we don't have a vehicle, a means of transport. So before we used to hire cars from individuals, but it's getting expensive. So now we have asked police and some of the department from the government to assist us for the volunteers to reach those places.
Okay, wow. So you know where people are who might be at risk. You get early warning.
Yes.
48, 72 hours maybe about a cyclone. Can you maybe describe for those who are listening and watching, what puts someone at risk? Like what you said you go to the places where people are in the most vulnerable situations. You know where these people live. What kind of people? Why are they in this place? What are the kind of characteristics about these situations that make them more at risk than someone else, say?
Okay, at the island is. It's like people choose where they want to live, and some of the places where they live, it's just you can see the lagoon and the ocean. So if just one big wave, it's going to swipe them out to the ocean, which is worse. But like us, we can't choose, for them. They have to, choose where they want to live. So when those things are, like when the weather office announced about, upcoming tropical cyclones or, strong wind, that's when the volunteers are deployed. And even the staffs to check this, we could do their help with their house, or they evacuate to the wider part of the island.
Mm-hmm. And you evacuate them to a shelter somewhere and provide support from the Red Cross. If we can talk a little about the changes. So we know that climate change is putting more energy, more heat into the atmosphere. The oceans are getting warmer. Ice caps are melting. Sea level rise is a big issue as well for Tuvalu. How do you work with communities for the long term? Because I think some of these changes are going to happen, are already happening very quickly for Tuvalu, and the impacts on the horizon look very bad. So what kind of work is your National Society doing with communities to help them adapt? What can they do to adapt, and how's that going?
Okay, thank you. For your question, I think Red Cross is a very, I think the oldest humanitarian organization. So in Tuvalu, it's very visible, its work. So for currently, we have a program like Why Adapt. So staffs and volunteers who are trained on the main island, they were deployed to branches in the outer islands. So just to educate, build capacities of people on how to be resilient.
And the why are youth, right? Is that right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, it's Youth Adapt, but we used to shorten it as Why Adapt. So this program to us is very, effective, because it's involved. It's game. It's like we conducted for 3 days, but with youth of different communities, and it involved playing games, and also they open up and they will identify the needs in their communities. So it's really a good one to us at the moment. So it was organized by IFRC in Suva for training in the Pacific, and then those who were trained will train the branches.
Amazing. And so what kind of things do the youth come up with? What ideas, what change do they want to see? We conduct this Y-Adapt, the Youth Adapt program on the main island in 2 communities. And they identified some of the needs. But due to the very financial limitation on finance, like to implement those, whatever infrastructure like a road, to patch the road, or for accessible to communities halls and all. And I think the other communities, they identify like water catchment, to improve, like those who are cleaning the gutters and all these kinds. So they come up with that, but we only have like $900 Australian to give to them. Okay.
So what we did, we only pay for the equipments, and they provide the labors and all, so they can change the gutter for their, like the church where they have a big water catchment. But I think I mentioned like the other community, there was a path to the church, which like it's very not safe for vulnerable people, like disabilities and all. Like you have to jump over when it's rain. You have to jump over, So that's what they identify. So we pay for the materials, and they do it. So
and that's somewhere they go to shelter, I suppose, when there's a cyclone. So you help them get to the place that they would shelter.
Even like Sunday they go to church, but when it's rain, it's very risky for them. So.
And this is one of the things that we're increasingly trying to do as a Red Cross, Red Crescent movement is this locally led adaptation. So we find that with our volunteers being placed in communities, working there, living there, that when communities are given the opportunity and maybe a little bit of technical expertise, maybe a little bit of outside resource, as you would imagine, communities themselves are very capable to identify the changes that they need to make their lives safer and less risky. And one thing that we're really trying to do as a movement is to encourage and make sure that support gets almost directly to them. Support shouldn't stay here in Geneva. It's great that we can talk about it here, but really we want to see all of the action down on the ground like that. What do you think the future looks like for these kind of programs? So if you had a message to people, is it more money, more action? Is it something different that you need us to do?
Yeah, I think looking at this Y-Adapt or the Youth Adapt programs, it's we got supports from other partners on awareness, training and all. But when it's come to, they don't support infrastructure or just building or they don't have funding for that. It's only a soft assistance.
Right.
It's not on infrastructure.
And so I suppose you work as an auxiliary to government. You work with the government and you say to them, a community in this place, what they need is this. We can't provide it, but you might want to. Okay, that's fantastic. That's really, really amazing. It's great to see, especially with the energy and commitment of volunteers, what volunteers are able to do even without much resource. Going back to my first question, what keeps you up at night? I suppose the volunteers take some risks. Your staff take some risks. It's not so safe. How do you all manage that as a national society? What does that feel like? Because in many places in the world, our volunteers do quite dangerous jobs for the good of humanity. How do you manage that as a national society?
Okay, for us, we I think looking at all the sharing from other national society around the world, we Tuvaluans, we don't really face all these massive challenge, but the most ones like we face is cyclones, tropical cyclones, the impact of, and I think our smallness, our smallness and droughts, like trying to make sure that people have safe drinking water, especially long droughts. So to me, like because we have a small team of I think 8 staff, and now we have one of our challenge is the number of volunteers is increasing because we have programs from New Zealand and Australia like on seasonal workers. So most of our volunteers have moved out to New Zealand and Australia. So we team up together.
Okay.
I think we have the experience I share in FERB when there is no only like 2 or 3 volunteers turn up. We staff have to go out.
Okay.
We have to move.
So you make it work together.
Yeah.
I think you touched on something important there. I suppose with projected sea level rises and the 10, 20, 50-year impacts of climate change, the future for Tuvalu or places like Tuvalu is quite uncertain with the sea level rise, and what we understand is many young people are starting to want to think about where they would be. How do you feel personally, if I may ask, how do you feel personally about this future, and with there's the UN climate conference coming up in just a couple of weeks' time. What message would you give? There's all the countries of the world meeting. What message would you give about Tuvalu and your future and your hopes for what we can all do to help a little bit more?
Okay, from our side, from me, it's when you talk to a Tuvaluan, they don't want to leave. But for us who are educated, we talk to our leaders, and our leaders have to prepare somewhere for Tuvaluans to move. While we see, and it's also confirmed from meteorological office that they have all these equipment measuring the sea level rise. It does, rise.
Mm-hmm.
So my message is for leaders to not to wait until the island sink, but to make to do arrangements so people have another options beside Tuvalu. I mean, Tuvalu people have another options to move to beside Tuvalu. Although they want to stay in Tuvalu, but when it comes to a time when it sink, then there's another option for them.
Yeah.
But the long term, looking at it now too, it's a good thing for people to choose to move because they don't have to wait. So moving slowly, they can adapt to new places.
I see. Well, thank you so much, Taggy, and thank you all of you who have been listening and tuning in. I think that's a very clear message at the end. Climate action is needed right now for places like Tuvalu before it is too late, and we're just very, very proud of national societies like Tuvalu Red Cross who are able to really give people dignity and choice. So it's on us to do what we can here for climate action, and it's on them to make sure that people have dignity and choice. Thanks for listening.